Hi, I don't know if you saw it last night, but we saw a wonderful example of how to deal with stress, extreme stress. It was demonstrated by Ash Barty, the world #1 female tennis champion. She was playing in the Australian Open against Daniela Collins, and Ash had a long time dream of being the Australian Open champion, winning in front of her home country crowd. And she started the game really, really well, especially considering she had the dreams and hopes of many, many millions of Australians on her shoulders, and won the first set quite convincingly. But once the second set started, she started to stumble a bit. She made many more unforced errors than she normally makes, and in the end found herself way down. She had won one game against Daniela Collins, who had won 5. So Collins only had to win one more game to take out the set, which would have evened the match, and they would have been starting from scratch again, really, both on an equal footing, which would have put Ash's hopes at risk. So Ash had only won one game, and she had to win another 5 to get up to 6 to actually take out the set. Now, most of us in that position would perhaps crumble. The pressure was enormous, not only from the crowd that were watching her, the thousands of people watching her live, but the many millions of people from the Prime Minister down that were watching on TV. So what did she do? Well, the interviews later on told us that she focused on the only thing that she could control, and that was the next point. She couldn't think about how important the match was. She couldn't think about the score, the overall score. She couldn't think about what everyone else was thinking. All she could control was her actions on the court, playing for the next point. And she did that, and point by point, worked her way back and ended up winning the set and taking out the Australian Open. It was a wonderful example. We often get into stressful situations and our minds start to think about everything else that surrounds that situation. But the reality is we can only work on the one thing that we're doing at that time. And it's so important to focus on the one thing that you can do to bring about the result that you want and put everything else out of your mind. I remember an interview with Tiger Woods, who was asked what happens when he did a dodgy stroke, and he said he would stand at where he'd taken the shot and reflect on it for a minute or two and think, well, what can I learn from that? He said, by the time I was a metre away from that point, it was out of my mind, and I was focusing on the very, very next shot with nothing else on my mind. So I think it's a wonderful lesson for us. I understand that Ash Barty was able to bring her game to a higher level once she started engaging a mindset coach, Ben Crow, who is now a part of her permanent team. And it is clear that the mindset work that she has done just made the difference between winning and perhaps not winning. She's a very wonderful ambassador of Australia. She's a very humble and very I'm lost for words. It would be hard to find a better ambassador for this country and for the sport of tennis. And I think she's taught us something that we could all take into our lives when we are faced with stress. Thanks very much.